Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough. For those of you who haven't seen this show before, my name is Art Bergeron. I'm an elder law attorney. My day job, I work with Myrick O'Connell, which is located right down the street in Westborough. But this is not about elder law. This is about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've been to my presentations at the Senior Center, you know that Frank and Mary and their kids have 3 kids, Peter, Paul, and Mary Jr., and their goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if that is Southborough, that means right here. So the point of the show is to really let you know the people that you need to know and the programs that you need to know about to be like Frank and Mary and to live kind of happily ever after right here in Southborough. So I got this wonderful co-host, Doug Peck, to do this show with me because he lives here in Southborough, has been for a long, long time, and inevitably finds these wonderful guests, some from Southborough and some from other places, but of benefit to you folks. And Doug, we've had this guest before, but she's just great. So we decided to invite her back, I think.
Yes, we did. And I decided because we've been so consumed with this COVID pandemic, everybody's thinking about COVID, and as well they should. However, there's a lot of other health things going on, particularly for seniors. And there's another, can I call it an epidemic, Sherrie, that is sort of looming out there. And Sherrie is an expert on this. And she lives in Massachusetts, a little more to the western part of the state. But Sherrie is a nurse. She's been a cardiac nurse. She now runs her own business around consulting for this. And so she's going to talk to us about it and what we should be doing and should not be doing during this time when a lot of us are still sort of stuck in our houses or have limited mobility. But we still have to be aware of other health issues out there that can be very, very important. That's why I wanted to bring her on as a good reminder that other things health-wise that you need to keep top of mind, particularly for seniors.
I think, Doug, that's a really good point. You know, I think one of the, as opposed to our shows even 2 months ago when this was just all consuming and legitimately so, you know, that we were trying to figure out, are we all going to die? Is this a plague? You know, now people have kind of settled in and they know they need to be doing some stuff regarding COVID, but they also need to be figuring out the rest of their lives. And so that's great that you've invited Sherrie back.
So Sherrie, the floor is yours. We'll jump in with some questions later.
Well, thank you guys. I'm so honored to be back and so nice to see you guys virtually. It is a different world that we're living in for sure. And you're right, people need to think about their health. This is an optimal time to start thinking about your health because you're at home. A lot of us have not going out now and we're more sedentary now. And, you know, I don't want to harp on the whole COVID thing, but there is a relationship between having diabetes and developing, if you did contract COVID-19, that your risk of having complications and possibly dying from COVID are much higher when you have or living with diabetes. There was actually a study that came out recently that I was reading. In the study, they looked at 15 states. And in those 15 states, 40% of the people that had died from complications of COVID had diabetes as an underlying condition.
Wow.
So this really is a huge time to start thinking about, okay, do I have risk factors for diabetes? Do I live with diabetes? And can I start to make some small, simple, significant changes to my lifestyle so that if we have another wave of COVID, I'm in a better position health-wise to prevent getting complications if I do contract COVID. So it's critical, and it's kind of where I've taken my company. As you know, I own Diabetes Kare Consulting, and I started it, can you believe this, almost 4 years ago now. It'll be 4 years next month. As you said, I'm a registered nurse. I've specialized in diabetes and heart disease for over 37 years now. I started when I was just a little kid. And so 37 years, and I have such a passion to help people to prevent diabetes and prevent the complications of diabetes and other chronic diseases that are associated with diabetes, like high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, obesity, heart disease, stroke. All of these things are all interrelated, and they all stem from what we call insulin resistance, which is our body is making insulin, but we're not able to use it properly, and therefore our blood sugars start to climb, and they start to affect our blood vessels, large and small. So our eyes, our kidneys, our nerves, it causes inflammation in our body. It leads to increased risk of heart disease and stroke, and now it's associated with these complications of COVID. So what I want to do and talk about today is to empower people to take a look at their risk factors, and then to think about what they can do at home to do some simple changes that are going to make a big difference. And seniors are really about a quarter of the people that have diabetes now, and a quarter of the people that are living with prediabetes and probably don't even know it. So this is going to be really important education for them.
Excuse me, can I just ask, related to what you just said, so is there a way in which I would know if I were a pre-diabetic? I think I would probably know, because my doctor would have told me if I had diabetes. But
well, that's an interesting question, and I'm actually glad that you asked that question, because there is a screening tool. It's a very simple questionnaire. There's like 5 questions. It takes less than a minute. You can actually go on my website, www.diabetescareconsulting.com, and you can take the risk test, and it will ask you your age. It will ask you if you have a family history. It will ask you your weight versus your height. It will ask you if you have a history of high blood pressure and if you're exercising. When you answer those, you get a point associated with your answer, and then you add up your point, and if you score 5 or higher, you likely have prediabetes right now. So so you know what? I'm so glad you asked that. It's the pre-diabetes risk test. It's the American Diabetes Association has a version. The Center for Disease Control has a version. If you don't want to go on my website, you can always go on the CDC's website and do ihaveprediabetes.org. But having that knowledge is huge, because then you know that you need to do something now, because the time to prevent type 2 diabetes is now, when you find out you have prediabetes or you have risk factors. So let's talk about the risk factors for prediabetes. They're the same as diabetes. So if you're over 45, you're at risk. If you are overweight, especially around the belly, so think about an apple versus a pear. An apple carries the weight kind of around the middle, right? And a pear more is kind of carries the weight of the fruit around the bottom end. So we're talking about somebody who has the weight in the belly area versus the weight in the hips and the buttocks. If you carry the weight like an apple in the middle, your risk of diabetes and all its associated complications is higher. If you have a history of high blood pressure, now even if you're on medications, you're doing lifestyle changes, if you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure, you're at risk. History of cardiovascular disease, heart disease and stroke, you're at risk. History of high cholesterol, you're at risk. Have gestational diabetes or diabetes in pregnancy. Very important that you know that you need to be followed every 3 years to be tested for prediabetes, as well as your child, because your risk is higher. If you smoked or recently quit, if you are sedentary, you're not getting regular heart healthy cardiac aerobic exercise. Certain ethnic groups are at higher risk, like Latino, Hispanic, Pacific Islander, African American, Indian, Asian, all of those type of ethnic groups are at higher risk, and they're also finding the connection with those ethnicities and COVID-related complications and higher risk of dying. So that's really important. So all of these are risk factors. So if you're overweight and have one of these other risk factors, the other one is primary relatives. So mother, father, sister, brother. So anyone who's listening, if you are overweight, if you have one or more of those risk factors, you need to take the risk test. If you score 5 or higher, you need to go to your healthcare provider and say, listen, I'm worried, I may have prediabetes, I need a blood test. So the blood tests are one of 2. A fasting blood sugar, which you fast for 8 to 12 hours, you go and have a blood test. If you're 100 to 125, you have prediabetes. An A1C, average blood sugar over 3 months, looking backwards, You don't need to fast. If you score 5.7 to 6.4%, you have prediabetes. So this is critical. So you get screened, you go for a blood test, and then you get diagnosed. And then what? You're like, okay, my blood sugar is a little high. I don't have diabetes. I'm good to go for now. The answer is no. The time to act is now. And I cannot stress that enough, because behind the scenes of all that's going on in your body is that your blood sugars are elevated, your insulin levels start to go up. It leads to a cycle of causing more weight gain, leads to inflammation, leads to damage to blood vessels, and all of these things are going on in your body behind the scenes, and you feel great. So you're like, I feel good. What do I need to worry? So my blood sugar's up a little bit. You need to worry, because all of these years of having all of the behind the scenes things going on in your body lead to permanent damage. And then what happens is 10 to 20 years later, if you haven't made any changes in your lifestyle, you end up with type 2 diabetes, and usually a complication of diabetes before you're even diagnosed. So this is serious.
And so my sense is, so can you just go to that last point? So if you end up with diabetes, is at that point, are things reversible, or is it just a slow decline? And then if you're in this pre-diabetes state, on the other hand, can you just kind of level your symptoms off, or reverse any of these so that you end up with diabetes much farther, later in your life? I always, talk about the fact I have no problems if I get dementia when I'm 105, because I'm going to be dead, So does it delay it, right? And can it actually reverse it if you're in this pre-diabetes state? So if you have it, or if you don't, or if you're pre, in either case.
Okay, so that's a great question, Arthur. So I tell people you have two paths to go. One path is to continue the road that you're going on. You're not eating right. You're not exercising. You're overweight. Your blood pressure is elevated. You have elevated cholesterol. You can not do anything and continue down that path towards diabetes. You will get diabetes. And you will have complications, because your body eventually won't be able to compensate for your chronic elevated blood sugars, and it will damage your organ. And you are at risk for having eye problems like cataracts, glaucoma, blindness. You will have kidney problems. You may go on dialysis. You can have nerve damage. You may lose a leg, or you may end up with a heart attack or a stroke. You can go down that path. But what I'm trying to get across to people is that if you find out you have prediabetes, or you have risk factors, and you choose, we all have choices in life. If you choose to make simple lifestyle changes, you can choose the path of prevention versus the path of diabetes, and you can reverse the process. And you can lower your risk of developing type 2 diabetes by up to 71%. Now, seniors, you get the 71% reduction. The rest of us get a 58% reduction. But if you're over 60, you choose the path of prevention by making some simple lifestyle changes. You can reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes by up to 71%. Plus, lower your blood pressure, lose weight. It will lower your cholesterol. It will lower your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's disease, because diabetes is associated with Alzheimer's and dementia and cognitive decline. So today is the day. I'm all about starting today to take some small steps that will change your tomorrows and prevent diabetes for life.
See, why I like Sherrie, she's scary, but in a good way. I mean, she tells it like it is. It is meant to scare you, because because it's something you really need to know, and because just what you said, Arthur, and what she said, you're in control at this point. And so, you have to realize that it's not just happening to you. You're making decisions about whether I want to be healthy or not. And so it's completely in your control. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have her back on, to let people know it's not a fait accompli. If you have prediabetes, it doesn't mean you're going to get diabetes. It means you've got some work to do. So what are some of the steps, Sherrie?
Okay, so first of all, to your comment about scaring people, You know what? I have been a nurse in diabetes for 37 years. I have seen the effects of people sugarcoating this disease and people not taking it seriously. And I have seen the devastating consequences. So I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to be honest with people, and I'm going to say to you, this is the reality, but it doesn't have to be your reality. You have the choice. It doesn't have to be you. You can make decisions about making these lifestyle changes today, and you don't have to even go down that road. So I don't mean to scare people, but I want people to understand the seriousness, because the consequences and the devastating disabilities from getting this disease changes a person's quality of life. It's expensive. It can lead to a lot of doctor's appointments and just a lot of associated complications. So let's be serious about this, and let's know that you have a choice, but let's empower people to make the decision to choose the right path, and today is the day to do that. So what can you do? That's a great question. So 2 simple changes that have been proven. Healthy eating, of course, and exercise. Now, this is not like an aha moment for people. You have heard this a million times. A million times. How many times have everybody out there listening been told, you need to eat healthy and you need to exercise? Literally, the study has shown, if you eat healthy, now what do I mean by that? I mean that we need to eat more plant-based foods. We need to eat more Mediterranean. So we need to eat a lot of fruits. We need to eat a lot of vegetables. We need to eat whole grains. We need to eat lean protein. We need to eat low-fat dairy. We need to have olive oil. We need to eat nuts. So all of the Mediterranean diet is a great starting place. And eating lower fat, lower calorie, and just really kind of going to more plant-based and eating less processed foods. We want to limit sweets, red meat. We want to limit refined grains. So we want to eat more real food, more real food. The other component is exercise. So exercise doesn't mean running a marathon. It doesn't even mean buying equipment. It doesn't mean joining the gym. It means literally using the 2 feet that God gave you, if you're able, and getting out and walking. People have been restricted in their homes. You need to take a movement break every 60 minutes. Go out, get up from your chair if you're working from home every 60 minutes and go and take a walk around your house for 5 minutes. Get that blood circulating. And then make it a point to get 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week. Now, the good news I'm going to share with you is you don't have to do 30 minutes all at once. You can do a 10-minute moderate paced walk, a 10-minute moderate paced walk, and a 10-minute moderate paced walk 3 times a day and get the same benefit. So get out. Go for a walk. Enjoy the beautiful weather that we're having. Fall is coming. It's a great time to be out walking. You know, socially distance, wear your mask, do all the things that we need to do to protect ourselves. Make it a family affair, because I'm going to tell you some pretty sad statistics that came out in December from the Journal of American Association Pediatrics. 1 in 5 young adults, 1 in 4 adolescents now have prediabetes.
Wow.
And guess what? Kids are going to be homeschooled, sitting at their desk all day with no recess, no changing classes. This epidemic is going to explode because people are putting on the COVID-15. People are going through a lot of emotional pain right now. People are depressed. People are financially strapped. I'm telling you, you do not have to spend money to get exercise. And, you know, there's a lot of farmers markets. People at the end of their road are putting fresh fruits and vegetables out. Take advantage of those kind of things and just make a small little change. It's going to make a big difference in changing your course of whether you go down the path of diabetes or the path of prevention.
Sherrie, can I just ask, I'm sorry, Doug, I'm going to forget my question. Otherwise, you know, I'm slipping here. So, but you were talking about food, and it sounds like, you know, as opposed to exercise, which is, you know, I can understand it's a fairly regular thing, you know, and these are the things you're going to do. But with food, it's really a matter of, it's like every meal. It's like looking at every meal. So I guess the question is, are there, for want of a better term, are there consultants? Are there people that can just kind of help you think about what you're going to eat for the week, because you really make all of those decisions the day you go to the store, you know, kind of
Yes.
what are you going to eat? Because you're going to eat what's in the kitchen, right? You're not going to eat, you're not going to run, right? So if you kind of know ahead of time, this is my path, right? And a lot of times when you talk about breaking habits, I would assume that's because we've always cooked what we cook, you know, and you know how to cook, and you know, and the older I get, the more confusing recipes seem to me, you know, and so as you do the same things, right? So I guess the question is there a way for folks, and I suppose this is an ideal time for folks at home to be kind of growing out of some of those habits and into new habits?
Yes, that is such a great question. You guys ask such good questions. So
We're really good, you know. That's why
we're
you know,
good.
that's why our viewership is so high. You know, Neil
I
said
love that.
right.
So I can help. First of all, there's multiple options. So I started when COVID hit. I was a keynote speaker, and I spoke at multiple conferences, different states, and you know, multiple assisted livings, independent living, senior centers. And when COVID hit, my business changed, and so I had to pivot and put everything virtually. So I started an online school, and so I'm certified as a diabetes care and education specialist. I'm certified in diabetes prevention as a life coach through the CDC. I'm certified in dementia and ageless grace. So, and I've been a nurse in this field for 37 years. So my company is an education company. So what I do is I have started an online school that people can go, and in September, I'm launching my live courses again. For like $19.95, you can take a live webinar with me, and you can learn how to eat right. You can learn how to change your behavior. You can learn how to read a label. We will literally spend an hour. You will bring your favorite label and we will put it through the test. So I will have an hour label reading. We will learn how to prevent diabetes and all the science behind it. We will learn how the toxins that you're using in products that you don't even know every day on your body and around your house, how those toxins in those products are increasing your risk of disease, including diabetes and Alzheimer's. I work with clients one-on-one, and I health coach clients virtually, so you don't have to leave your house. I also am launching, I created a brand new program specifically for people at risk and living with prediabetes. And this program is, I offer a Monday evening free course. Now listen, everybody, it's free, and it's Monday evenings on Zoom from 4:30 to 5:30. And I have a link. You just register and you come on to Zoom, and I provide education just like I'm doing right here, and support and help you to begin to choose the path that will help you prevent diabetes. I also am launching, starting tomorrow, an 8-week course that gives you every tool and resource and education and helps you implement small steps every week to prevent diabetes for life. And then I'm going to have a membership community that I will offer group coaching. We'll have a private Facebook group, and you can get ongoing coaching, because diabetes is not a quick fix. To prevent diabetes, it's a transformation for life, and I want to go on a journey with people and help them. So, you know, I have all of these options that you can go on my website. You can connect with me and do a 30-minute free strategy call, and we can come up with the best choice for you, because it's all individualized. And then there's dietitians. If you're at risk for prediabetes and you get diagnosed with prediabetes, you can go see a dietitian. Ask your doctor and say, hey, listen, I have prediabetes. I want to go see a dietitian, and you can work with a dietitian. But I believe education is powerful. But I also believe education is education, but without action, it's just education. So
I was going to say, that's a great summary. And,
Yeah.
and I know I as the person who is in charge of watching the clock, I'm just saying, oh, that's a great summary, and we need to go. But Doug, final comments.
Okay. I just had one more very quick question. One thing you didn't mention was alcohol. You know, I know people are maybe enjoying an extra glass of wine or something. How does that, how careful should we be about alcohol as it relates to diabetes?
Well, if you ask the American Heart, they're going to tell you no alcohol. There was a study that came out recently that said no one should be drinking alcohol. But in terms of diabetes prevention, the recommendation is if you're going to drink alcohol, women 4 ounces, men 5 ounces, and wine is really the preferred, because the Mediterranean diet, red wine is great for multiple things for your body and your brain. So I'm not going to say I'm advocating alcohol because it's empty calories.
Mhm.
But if you are going to drink, I would go with red wine.
Okay.
And I would go with just a glass, and I wouldn't do it every night and I would have it with food. If you do have diabetes and you do have a glass of red wine, it can mask symptoms of low blood sugar. So you must have it with a meal, and you need to watch your blood sugars closely afterwards.
Good. Thank you.
Oh,
I
thank
think
you.
this has been really helpful, Arthur.
This has been great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Sherrie. Doug, you keep pulling this off and getting these like terrific people. And it is scary, but the point is that there's a way out of this,
Right.
You should be scared
Yeah.
because shame on you if you don't take care of this yourself.
Right.
So thank you very, very much, Sherrie. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Thanks to the folks. Thanks to Terry Underwood and the folks at Southborough Cable for doing these shows. And folks, I hope you enjoy this, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Stay well, everybody.
Yep. Take care, Sherrie. We'll talk to you.
Thank you.